always a space between us, Mayor.
Oh.
I never get to move.
Yeah, I don't know,
Taken up.
no one ever sits there.
I know. I am. My seniority is catching up with me. Is it cold in here? I am cold.
Yeah. Business okay?
Yeah, it's okay. The economy's weird, but
Yeah.
business is okay. A bit of a dichotomy there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of businesses are just waiting to see things are a little weird.
So sorry, your business?
Our business is doing well, but
Which is in what?
I sell.
Andy twisted my arm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Asked him what made him decide
He
to
breaks
take this
things.
on.
Oh, yeah.
I put
Sounds
deals
like he was
together.
encouraged. You might have encouraged.
Yeah,
That
there's more
would-
than wine involved.
That I could, I bet you do see,
But it wasn't my
I mean,
wine, it
that's a
was your
given.
wine.
Just,
A lot of cycles.
He'll have yourself
are
a
you
blue.
glad you're not in the office, Mark?
Okay.
It's like I tell my wife,
No.
it's clearly your fault you said yes.
Yeah, your microphone's on.
That usually ends arguments, but I don't end up winning. It makes the argument end really quick.
Yeah,
I'm always there.
not civilly.
This kind of reminds me of my old job. So
Yeah? What was your old job?
I was the director of public works for Waukesha. So.
There's a lot of this. You have good perspective.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting changing factor itself.
But that's good
Yeah.
and helpful.
But people still need office.
Oh, I firmly agree.
Almost there.
Compared to my career.
You got this.
Oh, yeah.
Everything good?
Yeah. Just eat.
Oh. Yeah, Brian is
Good evening. Let's turn the volume up a little bit, which I am in control of. It's now 6 o'clock. We'll call the Planning Commission meeting of Monday, June 22nd to order. Please call the roll.
Okay. Commissioner Barnes,
here.
Commissioner Chorin,
Here.
Commissioner Schaefer,
Here.
Commissioner Abadi,
Here.
Alderman Parrish,
Here.
Mayor Nurbin.
Here.
Just to let the record reflect that Commissioners Stoker, Hawley, Urbani, and Ellsworth are absent this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a quorum by the narrowest of margins, thanks to the hard work of staff. First up is the meeting minutes of May 18th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Wasn't
Motion and a second. Any comments or corrections to those minutes? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. On to regular business. Oh, wait a minute. No, we have a public hearing. How could I miss the public hearing? Thiensville Mequon Rotary Foundation Incorporated. The applicant is seeking a conditional use grant and building and site plan amendment approval for an all-user playground and accessible bathroom for the property located at 4100 West Highland Road, known as Rotary Park. Is there a motion to go into public hearing?
so moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of entering public hearing, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are now in public hearing. Is there anyone here this evening who wishes to speak on this item? Hearing and seeing none, is there a motion to close public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor of closing public hearing, please say aye.
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 Opposed? We are back. Quick update from staff on what this item is about.
So this request is for conditional use grant and building and site plan approval to allow for an all-inclusive playground within Rotary Park. Our review specifically focuses on site design, overall circulation, and compatibility with the existing surrounding park features. The facility is designed around a central play structure, and there are surrounding accessible play elements throughout the site. There's also additional site improvements, including perimeter fencing. That fence is proposed at 6 feet in height, and it's planned to be constructed of aluminum, constructed in aluminum material, black in color, and staff is supportive of this and thinks it complements the site and the design well. The tallest play structure is 12 feet in height, which is consistent with other elements of the park environment existing. There's also slight improvements to the existing pavilion building planned with this project. That includes renovating the men's and women's restroom facilities and having a concessions area, and this will all stay within the existing footprint. There's also a landscaping plan set forth, which staff is supportive of. It should help soften the transition into the play equipment and the additional hardscaping that's planned with this project. The applicant was asked to revise the landscaping plan to show that evergreen trees are installed at a minimum height of 7 feet, and deciduous trees are installed at a minimum caliper of 2.5 inches. That's standard for most of our landscaping plans. And then to note, there will be a future master sign plan that'll come forward for this project. That is not happening yet, but that will be approved through the Planning Commission at a later date for donor recognition elements and other naming features throughout the playground. With all of that in mind, staff is recommending approval of the playground and the conditional use and building and site plan amendment.
Thank you. Any question from any of the commissioners? Commissioner Barnes?
Yeah, just two, I fully support the program. It's great that we have the Rotary here in the city to be providing these for us. Just two things. What is, who will be providing the long-term maintenance that you referred to? And
Well, I can answer that. It's not really part of this approval, but part of the fundraising effort includes a $500,000 endowment. So that's, the council's already worried about that for us. We're just here to talk about
Great,
the CUG
great,
and
okay.
the site plan.
And then I guess as the site plan goes, just in my working with Gathering on the Green in the past, I do recall several seasons where there was significant standing water just in the area, from nothing outlandish, but just noteworthy. And I was looking at the site plan, and it looks like the grading is done, but I just want to call that to staff attention as far as when we, see the fulfillment, the construction of that the grading aspects of it are really fully attended to. Just, it's been a sensitive area I've seen.
Any other questions from any of the commissioners? It's a wonderful, wonderful plan. This is another step in a long process to get the project put through. I'll ask a process question. Which one of our commissioners thinks it's a little silly we have to have a CUG for a playground in a park? Raise our hands. Okay, there's at least a couple. Maybe we'll get that cleaned up out of the code someday. Alderman Parrish.
Yeah, great job. The volunteers from the Thiensville Mequon Rotary are in attendance in case anyone had any questions for them. They did attend Common Council meeting, and we asked them some great questions, and actually thank them on behalf of the community for all their great work. This is kind of, we're nearing the end of all their long process, and process related, that was actually one of my questions too, is after this, they're fully approved. It sounds like, I don't believe this needs to go back to council, correct?
That's the plan,
Yeah.
not the conditional use, but other elements of the plan we'll get back to.
Okay, so there's things like landscaping and, or easements and things of that nature that may need to be modified, but. So we're approving what is the layout, the site, and essentially the rendering concepts tonight so that they can go fundraise off of it. As they reported to council, it's truly astounding. They've raised millions of dollars. The final portion is for the community to get their skin in the game and donate any amount from a brick to naming rights for various aspects of the playground. They've gotten really creative. The city understands that we'll be kind of carrying on those naming rights after the playground's donated to the city, and we're just so thankful and grateful. Alderman Hancher described it as a miracle for the kids that will be using it, and I think that's why we should approve this tonight, and I assume we will. So thank you again to the Rotary Club, and and staff for your review.
Any other comments or questions or a motion?
A motion for approval with staff's comments.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Would anyone from the Rotary Club like to say anything? You just want to make sure it gets approved? Pardon?
Your comments are welcome.
Yep, it's one step closer. Can't wait to see it done.
This for 4 years now.
Yeah, it's there's more work into it than most will ever know. We have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? Hearing none, all is in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Look forward to seeing some action out there. Okay, now on to regular business. First item is Growth Design Group for Christian Life Church. The applicant is seeking a site plan amendment approval for a parking lot expansion for an additional 120 parking stalls for the property located at 2803 West Mequon Road. There is one person registered to speak on this item tonight. Kathleen Platt opposes and wishes to speak. 2820 West Mequon Road is her address. Please come up to the podium and try to keep it to 5 minutes, but we're not too strict either.
Yes. So we weren't given a whole lot of notice about this proposal, but I did take the opportunity this past Sunday to look at the parking lot. It was not full. Their current parking lot had many open spots, even given that they have some construction trucks and trailers that have permanent residents in their parking lot. I see this parking lot every single day. I have no wish to see an additional acreage of asphalt every time I look out my window. The only time their parking lot is even close to full are Sunday mornings and Wednesday evenings, a total of maybe 4 hours a week, which is less than 3% of the time that this asphalt would be sitting there for the most part empty. There's enough empty asphalt in Mequon without adding another 120 spots of empty asphalt, especially across the street. We're in a residential neighborhood. And that's basically what I wanted to say. There are alternatives for their Wednesdays. Occasionally when they have a picnic or an event, I see people parking on the grass. I get that. There are alternatives. We all use those alternatives when there's Lion Fest, when there's Family Fun Before the 4th, when there's Gathering on the Green, there's shuttles. There's the Rangeline Community Center walking distance. I know, I walk there all the time. There's a lot of other alternatives that they can use for their parking at that tiny percentage of the time that they potentially would need it. I see no need to add acres of asphalt for that tiny percentage of time. Thank you.
Thank you. While we're in public comment, is there anyone else who wishes to speak? All right, we'll move on to the staff report.
So I have the layout up on the screen for you. The parking lot will add 110 spaces to the east of the existing lot. Most importantly, there's no additional connections to Mequon Road. It'll have 2 connections to the existing parking lot. The layout, staff is supportive of the layout design. It does include 10% interior lot landscaping. We did request landscaping buffers to the east and to the north along Mequon Road, and to the east because there's a residence further to the east. So we're supportive of that. There's one minor change, that there's a tree that's undersized in the plan, and we're just asking for that to be increased in size. But other than that, we're supportive of the overall design and recommend approval. Thank you.
All right, any questions from commissioners? Commissioner Schaefer.
Can we talk about the, kind of to the residents' point, can we talk about the landscaping plan? Because I think there are trees that are planned along Mequon Road.
Yeah, I'll pull up the plan for you in a second here.
I had the same reaction where I thought, gosh, every time I drive by there, I admittedly do not drive by there on the regular on Sunday morning and Wednesday evening, but there's always ample parking. However, I don't know that it's in my purview to say, no, you don't need this parking if they think they do, but I do agree that screening it appropriately seems like a reasonable ask.
So I do have the plan up on the screen. So this is Mequon Road, and this is the existing parking lot. So this is all the landscaping along Mequon Road, and then it wraps around to the east and wraps the parking lot. So I think there's a pretty good landscaping buffer there, and the house is still pretty far away from this parking lot. And I'll just mention also that there's no illumination proposed for the parking lot at this time, so there'll be no lights out there. So the only lights you'll probably get is some headlights, but the landscaping over time should address any of those issues.
And there's no, can you remind me or correct me, there's not landscaping along, or not much along the existing parking lot, so this would be
Yeah, there's very little out there right now.
more dense
Yeah.
than what is along
What's
the
out there now,
existing
yeah.
parking lot. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Chorn?
I guess I have to admit too that the times I've driven past, there's so many open parking spots, but typically a parking lot for like a church is often sized for the Christmas, the Easter, that event. So I guess I'd like to hear from the church what their thoughts and what their comments with regards to the parking situation.
Go right ahead.
My name is Ian Whitney. I'm with Growth Design Group Architects, working with Christian Life Church. Just a little context that maybe not everyone's aware of is there's a previous submittal. I think we were here about a year ago to approve the larger addition in the back of their existing building, which is kind of the impetus for this extra parking is the seating count on a Sunday morning is dramatically increased. And this was presented as part of that submittal a year ago as future parking. And the church has just determined that they needed to attack this sooner than later.
Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. I'm the lead pastor. My name is Joe Hanthorn, and our church did undertake the process. A little louder, please. All right. My name is Joe Hanthorn. I'm the lead pastor at Christian Life Church, and it was about a year ago that we moved forward with this construction project. Since that time, before that time, and since that time, our church has continued to grow. Currently, we have an average attendance Sunday morning of about 500-ish, give or take which Sunday it is. Our new sanctuary is going to hold 840 seats. And if we do the math by most municipal standards, which is 3-to-1, sometimes 4-to-1, we're right there at needing that parking space, not just for special holidays, which would certainly be an issue, but also for our Sunday morning attendance. I understand that right now, when you drive by on a Sunday morning, there may be, and we have counted many times, 6, 8, 10 parking spaces available in the parking lot, depending on the Sunday. Obviously, there's highs and lows. But when we bring both of our current morning services together, because we're worshiping as a separated congregation right now, and that's not something that we feel good about as a community. We want to worship together in one service on Sunday morning. And so that was the whole impetus of building the building, was so that we didn't have to have multiple Sunday morning services and we could worship together as one congregation. Having the parking is going to allow us to do that. I do understand our neighbor's concerns. She and I have spoken about it, and we are very amenable to doing whatever we need to do to try to help address those concerns. One of the concerns was lighting, and so there is no lighting currently shown in this plan. And in addition to that, we've done our best to try to address that with landscaping.
Any other comments from any of the commissioners or questions? Commissioner Parrish.
I'd move, well, first of all, thank you and congratulations on your growth. And
Thank you.
Just following through on the plan, we already essentially gave you concept approval for, and as a result, I would move approval of staff of this design and concept, staff recommendations, items number 1 through 10.
I will second.
Motion and a second. Any last feedback? It is a good plan. I understand neighbors' concerns, but there's a generous landscaping buffer along Mequon Road and along the eastern boundary. So it goes a long way towards mitigating the visual impact, but whether someone needs it or not isn't something that we can approve or deny this on. They conform to our standards, and that's what we're looking for, unfortunately.
He said he spoke to me. He has never spoken to me.
You can talk now.
If he has or hasn't, no, it's immaterial. It is a good plan, and we can't deny because we don't think someone doesn't need it, so.
I apologize if she's not the neighbor that I thought I spoke to, but I thought for sure I had spoken to her.
I think this one may be across the street, not the neighbor adjacent to the
Correct.
east. Yeah, that would be the disconnect, yeah. Which is unfortunate. But, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That item is approved. On to Keller Incorporated for Sidel Plastics Incorporated. Applicant is seeking a building and site plan amendment approval for a 27,550 square foot addition to the existing building for the property located at 6301 West Executive Drive. Take it away, staff.
This request is for building and site plan amendment. It is intended to facilitate the growth of the Sidel Plastics operations. The Planning Commission approved a similar site plan amendment back in 2023. That was just solely for parking lot expansion. It didn't include the building expansion. Those improvements were approved at the time, but they were never constructed, and these plans now reflect the updated operational needs of the facility. The site plan amendment includes a roughly 9,000 square foot expansion of the parking area and a 27,550 square foot addition. This is intended to accommodate the anticipated increases in employment. Specifically, it should allow for 25 new employees. That's 5 office employees and 20 manufacturing employees across the shift schedule. This plan proposes 26 additional parking stalls, which is 10 less than the 2023 approval, which proposed 36. Despite that reduction, the supply will continue to serve the maximum staffing that'll be on site and similarly complies with zoning requirements. In terms of the building design, the architectural materials and the overall design are intended to complement the existing building and existing facility. There are some improvements planned for the existing building as well, including re-roofing and re-caulking, paint finishes, etc. The applicant is proposing to relocate a process chiller condensing unit from a ground-mounted location to the roof, as well as a new dust collector to be placed on a 15 by 15 slab to the west of the building addition and south of the existing building. In order to evaluate the visibility of this equipment that's planned for installation, staff has asked that the applicant submit a sightline study to determine whether or not these new equipments will be visible from the public street. They have since sent those sightline studies as of today, so those will be evaluated, and later, once that visibility is determined, a screening plan may or may not be required. In terms of landscaping, staff is supportive of the landscaping plan. They are showing compliance with the interior parking lot landscaping requirements by including 930 square feet of additional parking lot landscaping within that new parking area. Similar to the other approvals, they have corrected the landscaping plan to show evergreens at a height of 7 feet and deciduous trees at 2.5 inches caliper. There are 13 wall-mounted light fixtures proposed and 7 new parking lot light fixtures. One of the conditions within the staff report, condition 5, asked that the photometric plan be corrected to show property line illumination compliance. They have since sent an updated plan and show compliance with that, so that takes care of condition 5 as it's noted in the report. And then in terms of site compliance, there's one existing parking lot light fixture that seems to be angled upward slightly, so staff is asking that that be corrected to angle downwards and correct any spillover or glare onto other properties. With all of that in mind, staff is recommending approval of the building and site plan amendment.
Thank you. First of all, let me say I'm happy and excited that your business is doing well enough that you're willing to expand and reinvest in Mequon, so congratulations. Now with that out of the way, any questions from the commissioners? or a motion?
I think they've done a good job of, matching the proposed building to the existing, so I move for approval based on staff's comments.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Alderman Parrish.
I agree. I'm going to be voting in favor of this. Are you in favor of all 12 conditions? Do these all work for you that are recommended as part of this motion?
I'm Logan Ferry. I'm here on behalf of Keller, or here with Keller on behalf of Sidel. Conditions 1, 2, 3, 7, 10, 11, 12 seem acceptable. The line of sight exhibit we've already submitted, so we look forward to speaking further on that. 5 and 6 should be addressed. Number 8, worked with the civil engineer on the private hydrant. And number 9, it's already in for review with MMSD, so no major concerns on our end.
Let's go.
A motion and a second and a third. Any other comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That item is approved.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Next is Thompson Project Management for FT Plaza LLC. The applicant is seeking a building and site plan approval for a 3-story mixed-use office building for the property located at 11050 Northweston Drive, Foxtown Building E3.
So you may recall this was in front of us in May of last year for approval. There's been a couple minor changes that were requested from the site plan and from the building, so we brought it back to Planning Commission for ratification. The first issue for the site plan is the building is shifting actually 4 feet to the south, which actually makes the sidewalk alignment nicer than it was before. So I don't know if you recall, there was a little jog in the sidewalk on the north portion of the site. Now that's relatively straight across, so that helps. They're also shifting the parking lot the other direction, so that it allows them to put a small dumpster enclosure on the south portion of the site, which is necessary because they also got rid of the basement of this facility. The basement did not have any parking in it, but based on some issues with high groundwater, they decided to eliminate the basement. So because of that, they need an outdoor refuge location. And now with the parking lot being shifted, that works out really well for them as well. In terms of the building changes, there's a couple of minor changes. I'll pull up the elevations on the screen. Let's see. Let's just go down. There's a couple changes related to the pickleball court is no longer a viable option, it sounds like, so they're changing the floor plan to allow for a dance studio and a fitness center. Based on that, they need to add 2 egress doors. That'll be on the north side of the building. There's also changes made to the greenhouse on the, if you recall, there was a greenhouse that was shown on the 4th floor that has been eliminated. That has to do with code issues with regard to the structural issues with the building. So they eliminated the greenhouse, which actually reduces the overall height of the building by roughly 6 feet. They did also eliminate the elevator access to the top floors, but there are stairway access. So you can kind of see on the plan, there's 2 gabled stairway enclosures that go out to the roof of the building. So that's a minor change as well. So overall, staff is supportive of all these changes. They're relatively minor in nature. We did make a note in there that dance studios are limited to 2,000 square feet and sports fitness studios are limited to 3,000 square feet. Right now, it shows that the dance studio is a little bit above that, so they either have to reduce that or ask for a text amendment to increase that size if they wanted to go forward with a larger size studio. So relatively minor stuff, so we're recommending approval according to the conditions in the report. Thank you.
Thank you for the overview, Jack. Any questions from the commissioners? Another great looking building in the Foxtown development, so. Any questions, concerns, comments? Is that an offer? Commissioner Jordan?
I got to compliment you again. I mean, every one of those buildings is well done. I mean, the materials are great. The look is great. Construction is great. So I have no issues with this. You know, I'm glad Jack pointed out those 2 extensions for the stair tower. I was struggling to find out where that was, but I now realize why they are there. So I'm moving for approval based on staff's comments.
I will second that.
Motion and a second. Any more comments? Hearing and seeing none. Let's call the roll just to mix it up. Keep staff on their toes.
Keep Robin.
Earn my keep tonight. Commissioner Barnes.
Yes.
Commissioner Chorin.
Aye.
Commissioner Abadi.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Aye.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Mayor Nurbin.
Aye.
Vote passes.
Congratulations. Looking forward to seeing it go in. Thank you very much. And now we're on to our last item this evening. Miller Marriott Construction. No, did I skip one? Oh, I really want this meeting to be done, I guess. Okay. Thanks for keeping me honest, Commissioner Schaefer. Mequon 1 LLC for the Enclave at Mequon Preserve Phase 9. All right. It's been a while since I've done Roman numerals, but the applicant is seeking final plat and tree plan approval to allow for 13 lots in Phase 9 of the Enclave at Mequon Preserve subdivision located to the west and east of 10662 North Tree Sparrow Road. Maybe a quick overview from staff.
Yeah, so again, this is for final plat approval of Phase 9. It's pretty straightforward. There are 13 lots as seen on the screen up here. This is also for street tree approval, which was approved by Tree Board on June 4th. There's a report in here by the City Forester that contains further details on those conditions. And it's consistent with the development agreement as amended in January of this year, and staff is recommending approval of the final plat.
Thank you. Any questions from any of the commissioners? Well, if there's no questions, we can always make a motion.
I would move approval as per staff's conditions.
Second.
Motion and a second. Fantastic. Last chance on comments and questions. Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? That too is approved. Congratulations. Now for our last item this evening.
Wait, is that the final? Is this the end? No, it's not the end.
No,
All
no.
right, see you
It just
again.
looks like it because this area, you're putting that one puzzle piece in, but there's other puzzle pieces.
Okay.
More to follow, I'm sure. Last item this evening, Miller Marriott Construction Company LLC. The applicant is seeking concept plan and rezoning recommendation approval from B5 R1 R2B C2 OA to R4 PUD and C2 zoning for a residential neighborhood consisting of 87 single-family lots on 107 acres for the property located just south of 10303 Bear Road and north and west of 10007 Bear Road. Wait a minute, we have two people who registered to speak. So before we go into staff, maybe there's a couple more. Okay, sounds good. The first is Mark Hilgendorf, opposes and wishes to speak. 11521 West Mequon Road.
Yes, I also own the land south of that project, a farm. I don't know where these guys are gonna go with the water. That flooded last April across the road. It flooded last July across the road from your property. They got ponds on the other side of Bear Road, the east side of Bear Road, to save the water from subdivision from underneath the other, east of the railroad tracks. They put dams in there to keep them people from being flooded from the water that comes off of this property. And now on the west side of this property is a ditch that goes to the south that drains into my farm. There's water that drains off of Brown Deer into this ditch, and the ditch is full of water every time it rains. And there's a ditch on the north side that the city put in, that's part of Trinity Creek, and there's also a pond in the corner up there that doesn't seem to work because every time it rains heavy, it floods. There's no place for this water to go. No matter how many ponds you put in, The water table is very high there. It's got to be always, it's worked now, but it's always planted late and harvested if it's not underwater. You have, and it's flat. It isn't like a hill where you can drain it, and you got no way to get the water out of Bear Road. You got 3 culverts now that are full. Unless you want to spend more millions like they did across the street, the city spent millions of dollars putting that pond in there to save them people from being flooded on the east side of the railroad tracks from the water that comes off of this property. I don't know what you guys are gonna do. And we cleaned out our ditches to get the water to go east, and then as soon as it hits Bear Road and gets there, then you got the city won't clean its ditches out, and there's dams over there to stop the water from going. So it's all gonna back up onto the neighboring properties, the houses, and they're all in the same grade elevation. And if these guys bring in a bunch of fill for these houses, you're gonna raise the elevations so you guys don't flood. It's gonna go on somebody else's property. I'd like to know where you're gonna go with that water. And a pond, 1 pond or 2 ponds is not gonna keep this thing from flooding. It hasn't in the past, because the city's got their own pond and it floods. And you put in there for the industrial park, because your industrial park flows there, goes south across the Andres Bay Road and into this property, into that creek, into that ditch. And Brown Deer shoves into that property, onto mine. And if theirs goes in there in Wayside Nurseries, that water shoves into this property. Where are you gonna go with the water? There's no place. Unless you're gonna keep digging big ditches and get it across 57, and people over there aren't gonna like the water. They complain now, and the city spent millions fixing that. You can ask the neighbors here how many times that floods that whole fields. And like I say, what do? Raise the elevation? How are you gonna do it? If you keep the same elevation that it is now, them houses will be underwater. Unless you're gonna put it on somebody else's property, which I'm sure they don't care because they're in and out anyway. They're not residents, so, thank you.
Thank you. We have another resident who wishes to speak. Diane Kachelmeyer opposes, may wish to speak. 10258 North Bear Road.
My property is just to the east of this proposal, and I bought the property because of the rural nature of the road. When somebody asks, where do you live? And I say Mequon, but not the subdivision Mequon, rural Mequon. And that is very important to me. And we pay a cost for living on a rural road. We have to have our own well, our own septic, and we've done that I've been there 25 years now. And that's fine. I appreciate it. I think Mequon has enough subdivisions, and I have not seen this plan before, but it looks like if you wanted to put houses to the west, but leave Bear Road basically as it is, that would enhance the city of Mequon. That's my view.
Thank you. We have another person registered to speak, Linda Stange. Opposes, wishes to speak. 6108 West Lily Lane.
Yeah, I'm just also concerned about the water, where it's going to go. We sit down in a hole. We're right by Lily Lane Nature Preserve, which it used to be dry, used to be able to walk back there. It is underwater all the time, a couple feet underwater, because there is no way for that water to get out of there. If you build up, that water's all gonna come back down into us. A lot of that land next to Lily Lane Nature Preserve that you wanna build on is in the floodplain. Are you gonna fill that up? Are you gonna bring all that water down to us? Plus, are you putting in holding tanks for all these houses? There's no sewer down Bear Road. We do not want sewer down Bear Road. We don't want to get flooded. The field across me, when it rains, floods by Trinity Creek. That field will flood. And those retention ponds, they're overflowing. I don't know if you ever come out and see it after a heavy rain, but we have had water across Bear Road. This last time when it rained, last August, the water was across Bear Road. The water was across Lily Lane from the Mequon Nature Preserve across our road because there's nowhere for this water to get out. So I really don't see how you're going to put all these houses in, all these roads, all these driveways. Where is this water going to go? We have been there over 40 years. We do not need more building, more water coming our way. Thank you.
Next, we have Matt Hoag. Hoag, okay, sorry. Opposes, wishes to speak, 4421 North Bear Road.
9921, yes. Maybe my writing was bad.
9921.
I do second everything all my neighbors have said. We do have a water issue on that road, and adding a bunch of hard surfaces that don't absorb water, like roofs, driveways, roads, will not help. Another one of my concerns is my house is kind of already close to the road, and having a disabled child, I don't want a bunch of extra traffic going up and down my road. Also, there's several protected species on that property. There's currently a nesting pair of bald eagles on that property. There's owls on that property and bats. So you'd be displacing protected species. Some of that property is wetlands, and a bunch of cookie cutter new homes would not aesthetically match what Bear Road currently is and would be an eyesore for us. We would like to maintain a rural country road. That's it.
Thank you. Next, we have David and Ann Busak. Opposed, do you wish to speak? Didn't check the box, but I'll give you the opportunity.
I forgot to check the box.
10304 North Bear Road.
Right, so I have Trinity Creek going right next to me on the north side and on the east side. And it's basically the same. They said all that water's got to go somewhere. And they, the last guys already built up the north end of the property quite high. And they've already tried to lay a road through to the middle of it. And they covered up the 3 existing ponds that were there that, in fact, I used to duck hunt and goose hunt. Those are underneath 5-6 feet of gravel already. So, and then there's the eagles have been nesting back there for at least 2 years that I know of, and maybe more. I just think it's way too dense, way too close to Bear Road. And as far as I remember, everything on the south of the old Bramers farm was always all cattails and marsh. And there's lots down there too. So I'm not in favor at all for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Lyle Steinberg supports 3333 West Riviera Court. Wish to speak? Does not wish to speak. And
that address one more time.
yeah, it was 3333 West Riviera Court. And then we have Jacqueline Jansen supports, does not wish to speak, 3333 West Riviera Court. And then the last one is Thomas Jansen supports, wishes to speak, 11631 North Grace Court. Let's see.
Hello, I'm Tom Jansen. I'm a resident of Mequon, as well as a president of JPJ Corp. That owns the property, the 107 acres. We've owned the property since the late 1980s. Just want to point out, we've tried to market this property for industrial uses, and at time, we've had two land sales up on the north west corner of the industrial business park. We've had offers over the years for storage buildings, companies that wanted large outdoor storage. There were uses that were not appropriate, we felt, for what we wanted to build on the business park. We've also made proposals, and we could not compete with the properties along the interstate over the years. And also, it's pretty difficult to compete with the city TIF funded business park. Over the years, we've explored residential. We've had some offers in the past, in the late, right around 2007, there was a proposal that was brought forward to Mequon, but with the mortgage crisis back in 2008, that proposal was withdrawn and terminated. So back in the late 90s, there were a series of meetings held. There was a subcommittee to explore the stormwater issues as well as the uses of the property. Most of the neighbors, actually I would say virtually all of the neighbors along Bear Road at that time in the late 90s expressed an interest that the property would not be developed for industrial and it would be used for residential. So if you want to have this as part of the record, or I'm sure there's records of that at City Hall. Also want to point out, maybe Jack Zader could address this, but a lot of the water is coming from when we get the plus 100-year floods from the Milwaukee River. But the neighbors were talking about the ponds overflowing. The ponds that are on the property are pretty much midway down Bear Road. Those are temporary structures. Those were built when we were doing some grading, prepping the site for sediment basins for the construction activity. That was not a permanent solution. It was not designed for the eventual ultimate use of the property. So I want to also point that out. Also, there's some inadequate culverts that back up the water. Recently, last summer, the city did improve Bear Road. So that elevation probably took up the road grade a little bit, and that should help with some of the water draining, but also with the improvements, and I'll have Miller Marriott and Newman address their plans. So again, as a resident, I support this development, but also we have a vested interest in Mequon. I've lived here virtually all my life. I have brothers and sisters that are also property owners that are also in support of this. So appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak while we're entertaining public comment?
One more comment?
I think she spoke already.
I did.
Okay, we usually you get one and done, but if we keep it quick, let's have it. Yep. Please step up to the mic though, so it's recorded.
It's the number of trees that will have to be cut down, bulldozed. There are trees here. You should see all the beautiful mature trees in that area. It's a crime.
All right, I think we're done with public comment now. So I see someone raise their hands. Okay, let's get into the staff report, and then we'll open up for questions.
Sure, I'll let Cole address any specifics to the drainage, but I guess I'll just start off by saying this is kind of on this most simplest terms, this is a question whether it should be industrial use or residential use. I mean, it's currently, most of this is zoned B5 industrial. So it's not a matter of getting it developed, it's like what type of development we want to see here. And we've been dealing with this. I've been here 20 years. I've dealt with numerous proposals that Tom talked about on the site, mostly residential, some non-residential, but it's a tough site, and there's a number of reasons why it's a tough site. Number one is it's served right, currently, a lot of it's served by a private lift station that goes down Enterprise Drive. And the other part that's an issue is that the southern half of this is not in the Seward area, while the north half is in the Seward area. So it's bifurcated by the sewers. There's also, as people mentioned, there's wetlands, there's floodplain, there's some specimen trees on the site. So there's a lot of environmental issues on the site as well. So I guess the question that first of all the commission has to respond to is it more likely to be developed or better development to be residential or industrial? Because whether it's industrial or residential, they all have to meet the same stormwater requirements. And Cole can get into in more detail to that if you need to. We've had numerous discussions, proposals about this site. And most recently, in March of 26, the same proposal was in front of the Common Council for a consultation. The Common Council overall supported the use of residential with some qualifiers. 6 out of the 9 members of the council supported lots between 10,000 and 13,000 square feet on the north piece. 6 out of 9 voted in favor of the city maintaining that lift station, and 7 out of 9 were in favor of requiring 2 entry points for the subdivision. Currently, right now, the subdivision has 1 entry point for the north piece and 1 entry point for the south piece, with an emergency connection between the two and emergency connection from the north piece to Enterprise Drive. I think staff's recommendation is in line with the council's recommendation that these two should connect with a full connection, or there should be 2 connection points at the northern piece. We just think there's too many lots up there to have 1 access point. Again, the northern half of the site is sewer, which would include 73 lots. The southern half of the site would be non-sewer, which include 14 lots. In terms of size, the applicant did amend his plan based on feedback from the council, but he basically eliminated the open space by creating larger lots. So staff is preferable to keep the larger lots, but have more open space as well. So it's probably going to cost him a few lots on the northern piece of the site. In terms of the yield, the site does yield 90 lots. If you look at the R4 zoning district, we do have some. Someone mentioned there are some trees out there. Our city forester walked to say we did find some mature trees that may impact several lots in this road layout in the southern half, so that may have to get revisited. Again, in terms of the concept plan, I'll let Newman describe a little bit more what they were planning on, but they have 73 lots in this northern piece, and then the Miller Marriott would develop the southern half at 14 lots. So it'd be in a sense 2 separate developments, but all part of the same association, same subdivision. The open space, the original plan had 64% open space. This one now drops down to 56. In the past, we would typically require 60% open space on our conservation subdivisions. And we typically also require a 30-foot perimeter of open space around the perimeter of the site. They do show a perimeter open space, but it's all part of the existing lots that are there. So that would be somewhat unusual for us to allow in past approvals. So overall, I guess staff does have support for the development. We're concerned, though, that the northern piece would have majority would be front-loading garages, so we placed some conditions on what those front-loading garages would have to be in terms of their aesthetic, in terms of their numbers, and then the southern half, we require at least 50% of the lots would have to have a side-loading garage. But again, a lot of these are finer detail points, but I think the commission's first decision is to decide whether this should be either residential or industrial, and then how do we go from there in terms of fine-tuning the plan if they want to go with a residential use. So with that, at this point, I'll just turn it over to the commission, but we do recommend the plan according to the conditions in the report. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Do you know offhand if it was developed as industrial, how many square feet would be allowed to be?
No, but I can calculate that too relatively quick if you need to. I give you an estimate. I just have to pull up my map.
If you want to do that, maybe Cole would like to address some of the drainage concerns. If the engineers take on that.
Sure. Yeah, I could go over that quick. Couple easy things. First, couple concerns about endangered resources, whether that's trees, other animals, bald eagles. DNR will screen for that when the applicant applies for their stormwater and grading permit through the DNR, and they would have to take any mitigation measures for those types of things. There were a couple mentions about floodplain filling. We're not aware of any floodplain filling that's proposed. It's pretty hard to obtain, but we're at least not aware of any at this time, and the maps didn't look like they were proposing any in those areas. And then regarding stormwater and flooding, we kind of go through this in a lot of developments. We have a couple different levels of regulatory restrictions on stormwater and how it has to be controlled. DNR, we have MMSD in this area, and we have our city ordinance. Those all have different regulations. Basically, you need to discharge less flow at a lesser rate than what it was before the development occurred. That's the reason why these ponds fill up with water when you see rain events. It's obviously the reason when you see big rain events like last August that was mentioned. You'll see overflows. You'll see water in those ponds because that's where it's supposed to be. It's holding back that water, that volume, and then releasing it slowly over time. The city has a more restrictive stormwater ordinance as well than both DNR and MMSD. It actually requires the developer to bring the flow rates back to as if this site was basically like a forest. So I just thought I'd add those pieces in there, but happy to answer any other questions.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Cole, can you go back to the part about the trees, wildlife, et cetera? I don't know that I've heard this before. So if the DNR does some sort of screen, and if things are found that are within whatever scope they have, then what? What did you say about can you explain it?
Yeah. So if you're disturbing a certain amount of acreage, you have to do endangered resources screening on your property, and all that is basically telling DNR where your project, and then they have a database of where endangered resources have been encountered. They have it mapped somewhere, but basically depending on what you're encountering, you have to make certain measures. Like you might only be able to touch certain trees. Like one we encounter on our projects is bats and habitation in certain trees at certain times of the year. So Nate would be really good at knowing those dates off of the top of his head, I'm sure. But there's times where you can only take down trees. The dates are restricted to avoid breeding season or nesting season or whatever. Same with bald eagles. We actually encountered that at one of our projects recently. Have to take certain mitigation measures for that as well. So it just depends on what's in the area and what they have mapped.
So it's not that you're working around them specifically. You're just you're still taking away the habitat. You're just trying to do it in a way that's less impactful based on what their pattern is during the year?
Sometimes you'll just have to do those mitigation measures. Other times they will have you go through further analysis on basically not touching that at all. Yeah.
Depends. Thank you.
It depends.
Commissioner Jordan.
Jack, presently it's zone industrial, right?
Majority of it's B5. There are some smaller portions along the southern portion of that are zone residential, but majority of the site is industrial.
Now the industrial, is there a minimum lot size?
I believe it's like an acre and a half maybe for a lot.
Okay. And I've driven down Bear Road. I drove down this afternoon, and you drive down the street there, and all the properties along Bear Road, they're considerable acreage. So you're looking at these existing conditions with multiple acres, and now the proposed lots are what, quarter acre?
Well, about roughly 13,000 square feet or so. But yeah, most of the stuff along Bear Road, if you look at it, is about an acre in size, the current ones. And there's a couple larger ones mixed in there, but most of those are roughly about an acre. Okay. So yeah, overall, they'll be smaller lots, but the yield would be relatively close because you're talking 107 acres with 87 lots on them.
Yeah, the other thing I kept thinking about was, a couple of plan commission meetings earlier, we had some issues with residents up against industrial, on
the Alamo one
with the trucks and such, and I don't see any sort of buffer around the perimeter on the north or the west side of the proposal that could address that. So that's a concern to me. So the other thing, the last piece is that that document that was sent to us recently by the owner of the business to the west that implied that they're in the process of potentially purchasing or acquiring more land for their business. So it'd be interesting to know where that's at. I don't know if anybody from that company is here, but you know, that might change the whole equation too. So that's all I got.
Yeah, in terms of the buffer, I'll just say that we had seen previous plans, and the council actually saw a plan that included 4 families and multiple family that were basically a buffer between the industrial and single family, which most communities do, but we don't prefer that option here. So we do have a lot of issues where circumstances where we have single family that buffer right industrial. In terms of like our business parks, the same way I go along Essex Place, those are 2 families that buffer against industrial. So we do have that conflict. So you would be adding another conflict, but whether if this is industrial, then you're just shifting the conflict further to the south because there's still residential going to be further to the south. So you're going to have a conflict. Now there's probably more conflict here because you're having significantly more number of homes there, but there'll still be a conflict between industrial and residential somewhere along this path.
Commissioner Parrish.
Yeah, I'll save my comments until after I hear from the applicant. I was just hoping staff could clarify the connection points, the emergency.
Sure.
Between the industrial park and the subdivision, which I'm really lukewarm on how that.
So the plan as proposed right now shows an emergency connection between, I have it up on the screen, I blew up a little bit for you, between Enterprise and the cul-de-sac. And there also shows an emergency connection between the cul-de-sac of the southern road into the main road of the northern section. Staff's not supportive of those emergency connections. Originally, when I was at council, this was actually the enterprise connection was shown as a full connection, but
Correct.
I think the council did not support that because you're mixing industrial and residential, and they didn't want that done. But
So how will this work?
What's that?
How does it work? It's there's a roadway there, right? And it's 20
Well,
feet
that's
wide.
why we wouldn't support it because I don't know how that would work if you would
Got
just
it.
have
So
it
we're not
blocked
even
off.
looking at a
Well,
current.
how it works, where it has been used sparingly in other locations in the city. I can think of one over on the east side that probably a lot of people don't even know exists, but there's a connection where a single fire apparatus can get through. Is usually a bollard or something that can be pulled, so people can't drive down it normally. But if emergency services need to get in there, they can pull the bollard and get through. That's typically how they work. I'm sure that's way more detailed than it's on a concept plan, but there's one over by Alderman Gebhardt's district.
Sure.
There's a back door to get into his subdivision, basically.
So we're not. This isn't the final site layout, so to speak, because we're really just working on concept plan.
It's concept plan approval, and
we're talking about rezone.
we're talking about rezoning with a concept plan, and then whatever conditions we apply to that concept plan, we'll get forward to the next phase of it. And our recommendation is to have a full connection between the 2 subdivisions. There's just too many lots in the northern piece, and we always look for an access connection between subdivisions anyway. If they want an extra, like an emergency connection, Enterprise Drive, maybe that works. And then there was also Commissioner or Alderman Hancher who suggested that if they did not do a connection between the 2 subdivisions, there should be 2 connections to the north piece of Long Bear Road to allow people to get out if something happens at one of the connection points. So,
Okay, so when they come back, there will be some kind of road connecting the 2 subdivisions.
if that's the commission,
agree with your
yeah,
recommendations.
if the commission and the council.
Definitely be a requirement to get my vote in any development. So.
Again, we're at concept plan, so this will tweak a little bit. I think you have to get to a point where they have some feedback, positive or negative, from you before they go any further.
Love to hear from them and their reaction. I know they worked really hard on this, and before I weigh in, I just wanted to hear from the other commissioners and the applicant as well.
Commissioner Abadi.
There was a reference to the lift station. So the north section that's in the sewer service area, is that the section that requires a lift station?
I'll let Cole respond to that one because I'll probably mess it up. So,
Yeah, currently well, there's no sewer here right now, obviously, but they would be proposing amending the sewer service area to only accommodate that north portion. There's no gravity availability to run sewer from there to our existing system, but there is a private lift station privately owned lift station at the south end of Enterprise Drive. So I think this will be kind of figured out as part of the DA, the development agreement application when they get to that point. But kind of the first step would be amending that sewer service area and then contemplating connection to that private lift station, subject to our utility conditions if we were going to take that on as a city-owned asset.
Does the city own any other lift station?
We do. We have about 24. I don't remember the exact number.
We own a lot of them.
Yep.
Yeah. This one's a private one, and I think some of the things we talked about conceptually at council was needing to prove there's capacity, making sure it's up to current
Condition
standards, et
assessment.
cetera, before it would become part of our system. So there's some hoops to jump through. But yeah, Mequon's pretty flat. We got lots of lift stations. Anyone else? Commissioner Barnes.
Yeah, just a few miscellaneous things here. I guess I'll say outright from a traffic standpoint, pardon me, from a traffic standpoint for flow, in my view is that it would be most appropriate for full access egress to be provided via the, the Enterprise Drive, and that integrated into the site plan as it's generally shown. I recognize there's been a lot of discussion on that, but I'm just saying that I think there would be some broad benefit for the neighboring communities, the land uses, as well as a reality of if it does become a residential area, in terms of accommodating the directional flows of residents to and from work, shopping, those types of things. So I just want to bring that forward. The other thing that I wanted to bring out was I'm really pleased to see all the focus on the drainage, because clearly drainage is an issue here, and a lot needs to be done on that. So I'm simply assuming that there's a lot yet to be resolved that we haven't even gotten into. So leave it at that. Oh, and I guess the last thing is, again, going back with the Enterprise Drive connection that I believe would be appropriate here. I do not think it would need to have left turn, right turn lanes, those kind of things for the volume of traffic along Donges Bay. And I guess I didn't see anything in writing or in the notes here as far as what the fire police feedback or input has been on access to the way the plan is presented today.
They're invited to all of our meetings. They typically don't show up to this point in the process, so we haven't heard any feedback from them at this point. And I will address the mayor's question yet before so on the GIS screen, I drew a polygon basically around this parcel here, which is about 80, so it's an 82,000 square foot building. So if you look at that parcel, I mean, a lot of variables, but you could put at least 5 of those buildings on this site. So you could be in the ballpark of 400,000 or 500,000 square feet of industrial space. I mean, there's a lot of variables involved in that, but just a rough estimate.
So ballpark about 400,000 square feet.
Yeah, you could get that on there.
Jack's got it up on the screen.
I know, but like, what's a comparable building that's 400,000 square feet?
Well, it wouldn't.
I can't just think, oh, there's
5 of those orange boxes.
Yeah, I get it. And also tell me a building that exists that is that big, because that's how Becky's brain works.
It's easier for people who are engineers. Yeah.
Not it.
Yeah, that's okay. It's actually not too far off the. Jack's found another comparable size building.
Look at him. Look at him go.
One.
Wall jack polygons. Yeah, Commissioner Barnes?
Yeah, sorry, I'm just looking through my checklist here. I would be interested, I saw here in the notes references to some of the other nearby developments, and I'd be interested in what the comparison of the density of the north area, the proposed north area, is to the new development on the west side of the Mequon Nature Preserve, what we're seeing there. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just as a comparison of something that's new and developing in the general area.
I did put Polygon, our Elmo building from last time, which is 433,000 square feet. So that's what a 400,000 square foot building looks like.
Thank you.
Then you asked about the sizes. Well, I have it in the staff report, just kind of some comparisons. So the central growth area allows lots about 14,475, which is part of the Swan Ridge, I think you were referring to. So roughly in that area. Uleo Creek allows lots as small as 15,000 square feet. Huntington Park, which is an existing subdivision, has a couple lots that are small as 13,000 square feet. And Lac de Cours has lots ranging from 9,000 to 75,000 square feet. So we have a couple existing situations that are relatively close in size. Now, this would be smaller, but, I mean, adjacent to industrial, there should be a reason for it to be a little bit smaller. But what we do allow in that 13,000 range is a pretty standard minimum. Comparable minimum.
It's really primarily because of it being a new development there next to the nature preserve. And it sounds like this would be a comparable lot size to what we're seeing getting built.
In true lots, it's probably a little bit less dense than this, but again, that's adjacent to an existing subdivision. It's not adjacent to an industrial use.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thanks.
Since we're making recommendations on this concept plan, we have a commissioner who's recommending a connection to Enterprise Drive, and I think council, when they saw this previously, had not recommended a connection to Enterprise Drive. While I agree it would flow through nicely from a traffic standpoint, I think the concerns about trucks maybe using it as a cut-through and coming through the residential subdivision for the truck traffic was kind of.
I would not foresee that to be a problem with trucks.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a problem or not. I'm just saying, trying to paraphrase what the discussion was. So there was a pretty strong feeling, I think, in general. Maybe Jack can correct me if I'm wrong, but I seem to recall there was a pretty strong hesitation to make that connection there.
Yeah, I think if anything,
We'll end up going through council. So
I think some were supportive of an emergency connection, but nobody wanted a full connection there.
I think the emergency vehicle access makes a lot of sense. If you have a bollard that can be pulled and
or a gate or something.
The vehicle in there, but I understand where you're coming from, though. But I just want to provide the context.
Encountered this many times.
Yeah, I know. Us engineers think differently, so it's okay. It takes a village. Commissioner Abadi.
Did I hear this correctly, that fire department has not seen or commented on access?
We invite them to all our meetings. They don't necessarily show up to most of them, so I don't know if they've seen it, but they haven't made any comments on it at this point. And it's really not really a fire department comment time frame for them. I mean, if it's built to our specs, it usually isn't an issue. They'll comment more on industrial uses or where there's fire lane requirements, things like that. But for residential, if it meets our city requirements in terms of cul-de-sac size and street widths and all that, they normally don't have a concern with that.
No, the issue is only one access to a major road. And if you don't have those emergency access points, then potentially fire department could have issues.
Yeah, typically in the past, they haven't really made comments on those issues that I've seen in the years I've been here. So it's a legitimate comment, but we haven't heard that comment.
They'll look particularly close when roads aren't built to standard specs, but standard specs are meant to accommodate the turning movements of the vehicles. But you're right about the emergency access, but I think that's maybe why there's some contemplated as being included. If you had a significant event towards the entrance of the subdivision, you could choke off the whole subdivision very easily.
Well, communities I serve, the fire department would strongly object to one access point to a major road.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, typically when I spoke to the fire chief in the past, he says if I need to get there, I'll get there some way or another. So, but the northern piece will also have hydrants at certain locations as well. So, but But again, I think our recommendation is to have 2 full access points, either a connection between the 2 or 2 off Bear Road. So I think even if they don't support it, we're supporting it in terms of connectivity and development.
That was another strong comment at council, was the cross connection.
Yes.
I think it's noted in the staff report.
And it's more difficult because there are wetlands on the site, but it is still possible. We think we can get a connection in there.
Any other feedback or questions from the commission? Commissioner Chorn.
And just going back to what I had mentioned before, about the buffer around the perimeter, what is shown on the plan? Is there a scale to that, Jack?
Well, they're showing basically a berm, which is roughly about the 30 foot, but it's all on individual properties. So there's no outlet. Typically on our conservation subdivisions, we require a 30-foot outlet that's around the development. And they did show that on the previous plan, but they had obviously smaller lots, and we wanted larger lots. So they just they removed the outlet, made a lot bigger, which it's the same thing one way or another. There's no difference between the two, but we'd prefer it to be in an outlot because then there's more protections on what could be done on that land.
Oh, I agree. Mm-hmm.
But I think the concern was they didn't want to make it an outlot and make the lots get bigger, because then they would lose more lots of the northern piece, which is, a trade-off basically for them. But, that's still their typical condition.
Council will react to that.
Yeah.
Either it doesn't make any difference in that density. It's just I agree, the outlot, if that buffers in an outlot, it has greater protection from the HOA. We've seen that in other HOAs where it needed that protection because people have done things that they shouldn't in there. But when it's on someone's private lot, they have more rights to do what they want with it. Commissioner Schaefer.
Pull up my screen.
I think we're having a lot of discussion about what it would look like should we rezone, and I think the actual question in front of us, as Jack said, is, are we in favor of rezoning? And I am not. I just wanted to explain why, because I will vote no. I understand that there's challenges, ample challenges associated with this parcel, and the fact that it's been available for 40 years is, that's a long period of time without knowing the details of how it's been marketed or what has or hasn't been entertained. It sounds like there are potentially some viable buyers to the north of at least a portion of it. I just don't think that the challenges justify permanently converting more than 100 acres of land that was designated for industrial to residential. I think, we had a long-range plan for a reason, and this was designated as such. I understand that it's adjacent to some residential, but we are continuing to build more and more subdivisions. I think we might want to preserve this for future industrial use. And I hope that the residents understand. I feel those comments deep in my soul. And also, this is zoned industrial, so you may not want anything to be built there. And I get it, I truly do. And also, there's someone who owns this land that has the right to develop it as it is zoned. So something could be built there. And so I just want to make sure that we're clear that you might have personal objections to it, and yet the landowner has rights to develop it as zoned. So I would be in favor of retaining the industrial zoning.
So I'll provide a little bit of context, and it probably won't change your position, and that's okay. But the city is looking at creating an alternate location for industrial in the city. And one of the reasons this hasn't been as popular is it's not particularly well suited geographically. It's not close to a freeway. It's kind of difficult to get in and out. The reason the industrial park ended up here back in the 50s is because in the 50s, there's supposed to be a Milwaukee bypass freeway bifurcating Mequon and running right through this area.
Like 57.
Yeah, so that, and the railroad's there, but there was going to be a freeway right through the middle of Mequon. There's interesting old sewer pack document on that. That's interesting to read, but this would have been great because there'd been a freeway spur right there, but now it's never going in, thankfully.
Yeah, no.
But that's why the business park is where it is and why it was originally zoned industrial. But so there's some historical context. It may not sway your decision. That's okay. Just wanted you to know that others have thought about it.
I appreciate the context, and I think we can also agree that there's a lot of successful businesses that do operate in that area regardless of the proximity to the interstate.
There are. It's been hard to find larger ones as of late. There's some watered down industrial. There's a lot of exercise studios and things that aren't quite industrial, but they go into industrial buildings. It's hit or miss. Commissioner Parrish.
Yep, thank you. Welcome to the applicant. Welcome any of your input after we're done deliberating up here. Honestly, I don't know if you heard what I've been saying for years, Commissioner Schaefer, but that's literally what I've been saying for years about land use, and I've debated the same topic with council, with the landowner, with, in the past, I've also, in the past, our industrial park had lots of vacant land, and if you drive it today, it's actually has only some smaller parcels left. So the concern was ultimately the next manufacturer, such as the one that even emailed us today, expressing their concern. Where am I going to go next time I need 10 plus acres? So, the city did embark on, through our Economic Development Board, they looked at bringing on essentially the Southwest Corridor, and it is a different topic altogether, but for me, it was hard to look at rezoning this central growth area or this central area to residential without knowing there was going to be like an outlet for future industrial. And thankfully, my colleagues listened. There was a lot of consensus on council. We subsequently did a lot of work. Two things. First of all, we looked at the whole Southwest Corridor and the feasibility of it, and we haven't even decided on it yet. So that does make me slightly uncomfortable, but I do trust that enough due diligence has been done, especially by staff. They've worked hard on this for a couple of years now, so it's really a matter of bringing water and sewer to the Southwest Corridor, and there's a couple hundred acres there. So I do feel comfortable that, I guess, the release valve for our industrial base and for future businesses who may want to come into Mequon, I do feel that we are addressing that need. And I trust that the Southwest Corridor will get the water and sewer one way or the other, or I will always view this as a mistake. But I really don't view that the case. Now, it is a privilege, I think, for the site to be rezoned. It was community planned for industrial long-term. And if we have concerns about connection between the developments, because, and the reason why they're doing that, by the way, is it's two different reputable developers. And so they kind of each want their own development, and you see the bigger houses on the lower part and the smaller on the upper. We're making a lot of concessions. I mean, when you look at this density and the buffer, and I like staff's recommendation, just to give you some feedback that's constructive. I definitely support staff's recommendation for more like shared amenities, and I do see a walking path on here, which is terrific. Definitely wanted to have some connectivity to, I only see it for the southern portion of this. Is that a real walking path, or is it, what is that intended to be?
Well, we haven't got to the details yet.
Path?
It'll be a path of some sort, but we haven't got that far yet. That's concept versus,
Well, that will be important to have,
Yeah.
just like every other residential development, there's nothing unique about this that we're saying that. They all have it. They all have some kind of shared amenity. Lots 28 and 30, just give me 1 sec. They disappeared, but those lots right under GMI, and perhaps the other lots, I really think you should consider a deeper setback. I don't think we're saying you should have an outlot like the rest of the developments on Mequon. So we really are giving,
he's jumping.
I think, an exception here at that. Where did the concept plan?
Every time I zoom in, it jumps to a previous page for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just really close. And you know that those residents are going to start complaining about like the truck traffic and the lights. And it's just so predictable what will happen. And so let's just design an extra buffer there. There should definitely be another 10 to 20 feet of some kind. I like the landscaping and the trees buffer that you have there. Honestly, if you have an exit proposed on Enterprise Drive, I'll just vehemently oppose it here, council. It's just, think about land use, think about home values. Do you think I'm not speaking to you directly, just hypothetically, you know, someone living in lot 34 doesn't want, you know, a business park road going right past their house into a nice subdivision. It just doesn't make any sense. So the solution there is just to connect them. And so that's what it needs to be, please, when you come back. But in general, I'm really, I think the ship has sailed about, you know, we need to help them get some density here to make it viable. Other developments here that were proposed over the years were dense, multifamily, and kind of other mixed uses, like some form of senior and townhomes. And out of all the plans I've seen over this years, thank you to the property owner and both developers for trying to make this work. And I get you're trying to keep the development separate, but we're working with you, so you got to work with us. We want something to happen here. We're bringing a whole nother section of Mequon Industrial online, so this can happen. So we expect some level of compromise, respectfully. And those were really my points. I just also wanted to add, this was in our community survey. So when you talk about listening to the residents, we're listening to you here. We've also surveyed the entire community, and generally they are quite in favor of rezoning this area. It wasn't a major concern. Certainly the density that you're looking at, it gets less favorable when you get this dense. I'm not saying that the community survey was in favor of this level of density you're seeing on the north quadrant. So there's just a lot of trade-offs. It's a hard site with all the protected features, and if we're going to try to help make this work, I get we need some compromise here. So thank you again for all the time and effort, and if you have anything to add for our consideration, we'd love to hear it as well. Thank you.
I don't see any other
the mayor,
questions.
so-
So, yep.
Would you like me to talk, or do you?
Applicant wants to have a few words, it's certainly appropriate to do.
I'm Chris Miller with Miller Marriott Construction.
Brian Lindgren, Newman Developments.
Yeah. I'll speak a little bit kind of conceptually on the whole thing, talk a little bit on the southern portion, which is really where our eyeball's at, meaning that's where we're looking to build our homes. I'll let Brian address some of the northern stuff. I do want the Plan Commission to understand that I look at this as a development as Miller Marriott. Now, on the northern part, I've asked Newman to partner with me because it's a better fit for them. But I hear everything that's being said. It's a tricky site. Honestly, it's what we do at Miller Marriott. We do infill subdivisions. So a lot of the conversations in this room, the residents that are concerned about water, the noise, we have been down this path before, and they're all good concerns, and they need to be addressed, and we will continue to address them with staff as they come up. What we're really asking for is approval conceptually so we can get into those details. A couple of things I want to talk about. It is next to an industrial park. It makes it tricky. Part of this is having transparency with customers. So as we go down this path, they clearly know what they're buying, and that helps everybody involved. We had a situation where we were doing an infill next to a military academy, and literally in the buy agreement, we had to let them know that there can be cannons that go off and acknowledge it. And if you don't want a cannon to go off at roll call, this is the wrong subdivision for you. So transparency is everything and stuff like this. And so we need to make sure that we're doing that as well. The water is always a concern. The standards that Mequon has, the standards that the state has, DNR, there are lots of hurdles we have yet to get through. At the end of the day, there's going to be we're going to do nothing but help the water situation by having this land developed. Right now, it just runs willy-nilly wherever we have an ability to help in that situation. Trees, wildlife, we still have to go down some of those paths. We love trees. Trees make land more valuable. We try and save what we can. We'll work around what we can. So, and again, those are a lot of things that still those bridges have to be crossed yet. Emergency access, it's super important. If someone gets hurt, how do we get someone in there? How do we get a fire truck in there? Sometimes there's compromises here. If you look at our development we did in Heartland, we have a very similar access path. It has a ballard in it. The fire department has a key to it. If they need to get a fire truck through that access, they can, but it really serves as a path 99.9% of the time. But being able to get a fire truck through there, if we have a blockage in the street somewhere else, we all should be concerned about that. So those are things that we are addressing. Regarding some of the other comments by the Plan Commission, I think as overall, when I look at the south side, and I'll take it on the chin, I didn't want a connection point between the two subdivisions. That was selfish for my development. Talking it through with my partners at the Newman Group, I think it's a good idea. So we're acceptable to connecting those two. I'll let Brian talk a little bit about the 30-foot buffer, but I think as a whole, we're very amenable to staff recommendations. But I'll let Brian talk about the northern part more than I will.
There's not much I can say that hasn't already been said about the challenges of this site. I mean, that's why it's sat for 40 plus years. We're very aware of what those challenges are. But like Chris says, we got to sort out some of these points on a concept before we can vet out things like how stormwater management is going to be handled, how some of the sewer and water concerns. We know this is in the sewer service area. In order to get sewer out, we've already had the conversations with council and others that a lot of improvements are going to be needed to the private lift station to get it to the standard that's acceptable to the city of Mequon. And that's really what we've all, agreed on to this point. So in order to do that, we do need some more density. We've mentioned it's next to an industrial park. There's a transition zones and things that can address that. And, the best way to handle it is, like Chris said, is just hit it head on. We're not hiding from the fact that we are a transition zone here of housing. There's going to be a transition somewhere, they're all over municipalities, where you go from industrial commercial to higher density to lower density to farming, honestly, is how it works. So we're aware of that, and we address that by disclosing the obvious, that it's already there. In terms of buffers area, I'm not, saying anything I haven't said in this room before, that I don't love the 30-foot buffer. I think there's a lot of ways to address that are appropriate. I think, landscape and preservation easements can serve the same purpose and give a homeowners association the necessary enforcement mechanism it needs. That also, even whether it's on an individual lot or not, we can dictate plantings and preservation methods and what happens when it's mistreated and intervene as necessary. So, with that, I think, we're looking for some direction, as to, I think we've heard that the emergency access is not preferred. We can make a permanent connection. I think the rest of the conditions as listed, are things that we can work with. But I do want to ask, again, that, consider that these preservation areas can be done with other methods than putting it in an outlet that frankly isn't really accessible to anybody other than the homeowner that is right there.
I do want to add one thing to what Brian said. I've seen this go both ways. I've seen HOAs actually go defunct, and they're hard to manage, and homeowners are better at this because they care about their own lot. It could be done via the 30-foot buffer could be done with an easement, and they have to maintain it a certain way. Homeowners are going to make that happen. I've seen homeowners go a little rogue, and HOAs have to step in. So I think to Brian's point, we're looking for some direction. I've seen it go both ways. I would say we just would like some direction on it.
Commissioner Parrish.
Thank you. Just brief question for staff. Is the motion, how does, process-wise, if we recommend rezoning, obviously it goes to common council for rezoning approval per condition 1, but is there a way to make sure that both get the rezoning is contingent on both getting final approvals for their proposed development? So what I mean by that is, like, I'm okay with both of these developments. I'm okay with rezoning it based on what I'm seeing here, generally speaking, and the developers that we have here. But let's say one of these developers is no longer part of this proposed development and one gets swapped out with the other, or the deal doesn't happen and then just an all new developer gets brought in. I rezoned it because of what I'm seeing here. So that's what I'm asking. Do we need to modify the language that the rezone is contingent on development happening, essentially?
Are you saying that you prefer the concept plan or you prefer the developer? That's two different questions. That's
I would never.
because if it's just a concept plan,
I'm worried about rezoning the property. One of these developers goes away and then it's too late. It's already rezoned. Because again, I'd prefer it just to be industrial. So for me, it's really important what we're compromising on when we do rezone this, and not just.
Well, you could make the rezoning.
Thing can be proposed.
You could make the rezoning. It's already contingent upon the sewer service boundary amendment being approved. You could also make it contingent upon approval of a preliminary plat. That way, at that point, they're pretty much committed to do the project. So, and that way, if it falls apart, then that rezoning does not go into effect, and it still falls back to the industrial zoning.
Okay, thank you for your suggestion. I would just ask if someone else makes the motion, I'd really appreciate you including that as part of it.
You can make the motion.
I don't want to stifle conversation.
No, well, you don't have to make the motion now, but Commissioner Torin.
It's a question to the applicant. You know, a couple of things that I brought up, buffer and such, it looks as though the staff has included it in the points for approval. Are you comfortable recognizing that may change your lot count
Yes, I guess I would say that that's why I made the preference that we address the buffer area within a private easement versus an outlot. There are 19 conditions here that we've read through that we're saying, by and large, we're good with all of them. But if we can get away from that and allow it to be handled via landscape and preservation, that would be our preference, because we will lose lots. We will lose lots as a result. And as we know, public infrastructure is expensive. Roads, sewers, waters, the improvements of the lift station all have to be paid for.
Yeah. I mean, I want the residents to recognize that too, that, with the points that the staff has made, it's going to alter to some degree what we're looking at here. So.
Yeah, I think the question that you guys have to wrestle with is, so we're requiring a 30-foot buffer and a minimum lot size of 13,000. So you're going to lose some lots. And also I would probably make a slight modification to the condition with regard to the specimen trees, because this was written before we knew the location of some of them. And I would condition that to say that we would not want to see any removal of specimen trees, because there's some located kind of in this area here, and it appears that they may be impacted by either the stormwater pond or the lot, and we don't want those impacted. So I would condition upon, also add a condition that those specimen trees be protected and not just mapped and inventoried, but be protected as part of development. So, and then having the connection of the two roads, that may also impact a lot. So those are three things that I think we have to decide on. And then if you make that motion that way, and then if it ends up costing them lots, then I guess that's a decision they have to make, whether they still want to go forward or not.
I have a question, Jack. Council saw this as a concept plan, but it didn't come back exactly in line with the comments for all the reasons we just talked about. Does this go back with the rezoning request?
This will go back to the council for final zoning approval based on whatever we decide tonight in terms of the plan. So we'll require
So
them.
in essence, council's getting another crack at
Yeah, but at that point, we'll have the plan modified so that it's the final concept plan, so that won't be any discussion on in terms of how many lots he'd lose or not, because we'd have that all worked out at the time, if they go forward.
Okay, because whatever we decide here, there may be different opinions when,
Yeah.
well, when 7 other people get to look at it, because 2 of them are here tonight, but, Commissioner Chorin.
Do we have the option, lack of a better term, table, given the comments, that email we received about the potential interest in the one company expanding? I mean, there's no time frame on it, so that doesn't help.
We always have the option at table. I just don't know if I would make it contingent upon a letter speculating maybe a potential purchase, because I think it's
I know what you're saying. It's
That could,
yeah.
that's just kind of hyperbole at this
I
point.
know, I know. Okay, just had to ask.
I know Brian wants, can I say one more thing before you make your motion, Brian?
Hey, we can still debate after there's a motion too, but
But I wanted to say it in advance.
go ahead.
I already said how I'm voting, but I do think the different requests for exceptions, I think the way that staff has conditions laid out, it's consistent with our rules in Mequon, and I don't know that I would want to stray from that necessarily. Just, I'm still voting no, but also I'm telling you what I think you should do, so.
That may
Do
be-
with that what you will.
That may be the sentiment of others on the council as well. We just don't know because 7 of them aren't here.
So in that,
Go ahead,
in
Commissioner
that
Barnes.
concept, in context, if I could propose proceeding with staff's recommendations as presented here with the one little adjustment that you mentioned.
Well, let's just make sure we clarify. So let's make sure we understand that number 2, that 30-foot open space buffer would be in an outlot. Okay? And then the minimum lot size would be 13,000 square foot. And then number 7 would be all specimen trees not only shall be inventory, but those should be protected from removal from the development.
Yeah, that's one. So if we could, I'd like to move it in that way. I'm trying to leave that out.
So was that a motion?
Yes.
We can always also have a competing motion. No one seconded it yet. And even if they had, we could always have a competing motion. Would you like to make a motion?
Yeah, I'm still trying to understand how we move forward here. But yeah, I'd like to mirror my motion to Commissioner Barnes and reiterate that the rezoning shall be, for the concept plan shown today, is contingent on the preliminary plat approval.
Oh, you want to add that condition as well? So that would be under number 8. You would just say rezoning is conditioned upon approval of sewer service boundary amendment and preliminary plat.
Oh, yeah, it's already in there is the opposite of what I'm saying.
Yeah, see, I thought.
It's sort of in there, but
It
it's,
says no preliminary shall be applied for, and I'm saying the opposite.
you want the preliminary
Yeah, I
plat to
want
be,
it
to be, I understand what you're getting at there. That could be modified pretty easily.
And it sounds like that's a competing motion. You don't want that as part of it?
I misunderstood that part because I
Okay,
knew that.
so we're on the same
There was
page?
something in there already.
Okay, will you accept my modification?
I would accept your.
Okay, then I'd be honored to second your motion. So,
Or he can second your motion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Why don't we call the roll on this one?
Commissioner Barnes.
Aye.
Commissioner Chorin.
Aye.
Commissioner Abadi.
Aye.
Commissioner Schaefer.
No.
Alderman Parrish.
Aye.
Mayor Nurbin.
I'm going to abstain, and we'll have fun with this at council. It still passes.
Okay, the vote still passes 4-1.
All right. We'll see everyone at council maybe next month.
Well, it depends on if we get the plan updated in time or not. We'll have to talk about that. I'm not sure exactly, but I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah, whenever the revised plan is done. Okay.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Next, we have announcements. Next meeting is Monday, July 27th, 6 o'clock, right here. Which brings us to item 6, our last item.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Well, I mean, we weren't disagreeing, because I was seeing it in there